This isn't a cooking school or cooking class. There's plenty of those out there. This is to teach you how to become a yacht chef. It's going to cover everything from provisioning, crew cooking, menu planning, and everything in between to teach you how to become the best yacht chef possible. I think back to when I first started yachting and wanting to get into yachting, and this was like 13, 14 years ago, but there was no information out there on what it was really like to be a yacht chef, what it's like on board, what it's like to provision, what it's like to store, what is it like to cross the Atlantic for 2 weeks. There was no information. It was like going into the darkness and just hoping for the best when you land on a boat and just figuring it out. There's lots of things that I wish I would have known before I joined yachting. And this is what this course is about. So you might find yourself here for multiple different reasons, including just a different career path. You're sick of working in restaurants. You want to travel. The tips are incredible working in yachting. Meeting all these incredible people. The produce in all these different places all around the world. There's lots of reasons why you might find yourself here. The salaries are way better than in restaurants. There's so many benefits of why you might want to be in yachting. So I'm going to go over all of those and explain a little bit more about it, and hopefully it helps you decide whether you want to join yachting or not. The first part of this course is free, so you can see if it's something you're interested in. I hope you enjoy. My name is Dean Harrison. I'm from Australia and I've been a chef for about 21 years now, and 13 of those have been on yachts. I actually started my career working in a fine dining restaurant and then moved on to a very fast-paced restaurant. So those two restaurants gave me a good understanding of both fine dining and how to do amazing food, and then also how to get it out quickly and manage my time. After that, I traveled straight to Europe and I saw these massive super yachts in Antibes, which kind of intrigued me on how to become a yacht chef. Went back to Australia and found a job on a 35-meter dive boat. This thing was incredible. The experience was amazing. I got to dive every day, and really there was a good work-life balance there. There was something that I wanted more, and it was to be on these big super yachts. So after that, I actually got my first position on a 30-meter motor yacht, which traveled all through the South Pacific, Australia and New Zealand. I was on there for about 3 years, and that was one of the best experiences. I actually was a chef, sole chef and sole deckhand on that boat, so a lot of work. After that, I moved on to a 37-meter sailboat, and I was just the sole chef on there. So once again, stepping up. Every role is kind of just like stepping up just a little bit. I was on there for a year and a half, sole chef, traveled all through Southeast Asia, exploring the most remote islands and just having the best time diving in all these places. After that, I got a position on a 60-meter charter boat. This was a huge step up. Usually I would suggest getting either a sous chef role in something like this, or sole chef on something a little bit bigger, between 35 to 50 meter. But I got the opportunity through social media actually to jump on a 60-meter yacht as a head chef, and I had a sous chef under me, which was amazing. If I didn't have a captain like Captain Dean Pilati, I don't think I would have been prepared for this. So you really need to be under a head chef that kind of knows what to do, the accounts, dealing with the other HODs, and all these very specific things. That was an incredible experience. I learned a lot, but only because I had a captain that could guide me. After that, I moved on to 68-meter loon, which a lot of you will know, as the head chef, which was also an incredible experience. Even busier charter boats. After that, I got an offer on 88-meter Project X. This was a massive step up, even though the size wasn't that big, but I was getting an extra chef and just the size of the galley and the size of everything was a lot more. Everything was just a little bit more leveled up. So it's been a great experience to jump up to that. So that's kind of like my overview of my career so far. That's how I got here. There's several differences from being a restaurant chef or a land chef to a yacht chef. There's quite a few actually. One of them is obviously on a moving boat. It's not always calm. There's things rolling around. You're down there in the cool rooms, the freezers, or trying to grab things. So that's obviously the one main difference. The second one is, I think what makes a great yacht chef is the flexibility of what you don't really have in a restaurant. People are coming to your restaurant, they know the menu, they know what they're going to get, and that's kind of it. Like, here and there you kind of change things and adapt a little bit, but as a yacht chef, these people are chartering these boats upwards of $1, $2, $3 million a week. There's no kind of like limit of what they can request. So you need to take your sushi hat off one day to put on a pizza hat, and to do one cuisine in the morning or lunch and then something else at dinner. So that is like the one thing that you need to know as a yacht chef. You need to know an array of different cuisines and techniques and styles, because you are expected to kind of do all of those. I'm going to explain how I do it and how I've done it in the past, mainly Google, but you need those core skills before you join yachting. The other things you need to know is you're living with people. Now, I've seen a lot of restaurant chefs, especially Michelin chefs, come through, and they aren't used to that. They aren't used to being told what to do, maybe. They aren't used to being told to clean their cabin and all these things. You're going to be living with multiple different personalities from all over the world on this floating little tin can. And so this is one thing that you need to be respectful of your fellow crew members and able to live with a bunch of different people in a small area. So another thing to be aware of is that you don't have a big team behind you like in a restaurant. You don't have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chefs. You don't have a dishwasher. You don't have a prep chef, at the back there doing. You kind of like, you're on your own or you're within a small team. That's something to really be aware of, where you kind of have to just dig in where you have to. You're doing dishes one minute, you're cooking guest dinner the next, or you're helping with crew food the next moment. So working in small spaces with small teams is something you really have to be aware of. Another thing you kind of need to be aware of is provisioning and storage. So you're not getting daily deliveries. You're getting kind of like every few days or weekly deliveries with provisions. So, in restaurants, you're calling up the night before and putting those orders in. In yachting, you're out in the ocean. A lot of time you can't afford to go in and go provisioning every single day. I mean, sometimes you can, but I think you need a lot of planning ahead is the goal here. Another part of the job is you're in front of the guests a lot of the time. Out there, kind of, you're doing pizzas one day, you're doing barbecues another day, you're doing a sushi bar setup. So this is a big part of the job, is to be in front of the guests and chatting to them every day. So you need to be someone with a little bit of personality, approachable, I guess, and seeing the guests every day and just talking about menus and stuff. So that's a big thing within yachting, is like they like to see the crew and the personalities and the chef every day, basically. So it's also a good thing to be aware of that, sometimes you don't get to see land for a little bit, and the days are long, the weeks are long. During peak seasons especially, the med season is a very, very big one, but you get very big rewards. You're sometimes doing back-to-back charters, and I think it's good to know that sometimes you just won't be able to get off. The sleep isn't, it sounds negative here, but there's so many positives in this industry. So I think if you can get past all of this and you say, yep, I can do that, there's so many rewards to be had. And there's a lot of positives. Now on to the positives, which there is a lot. One of them is traveling to all these beautiful places. I think the benefit of being on a yacht while doing this is you're going to places that other people just can't get to without being on a yacht. So you're experiencing what these owners of these vessels and these millionaires and billionaires get to, take their boats to, which is amazing locations which you wouldn't necessarily be able to get to unless you're with them. I got to travel the South Pacific to some of these islands where I didn't even see another boat or another tourist in some of these places, and you get those true experiences of getting to go out and provision and getting coconuts and papayas from the local village and like seeing all these incredible locations that you wouldn't get to visit somehow. I think that's like my favorite part of it, is like getting those experiences and diving in these beautiful places and hiking these mountains and remote islands. And so that's a huge benefit of working in yachting. The second is good tips, amazing tips. Some people don't believe me when I say it, but I mean, there's times where you're getting up to €1,000 US a day tips per charter day, which is quite normal. Between 10 to 20% is like the normal of the rate of the vessel, and that gets split up between the crew. So most boats will get between, for a weekly charter, 3 to 8,000 US or euros a week per person. And so that's obviously a lot of the benefits for yachting, is you're getting amazing tips plus your salary as well on top of that. And chefs usually get a pretty good salary as well, which is way more than a restaurant job. Typically a chef will get paid between sous chefs around 4,000 to 5,000 euros a month, and then head chefs anywhere between 7,000 to 20,000 a month. That's obviously towards the bigger end of the boats, which is up to 100 and kind of 30, 40 meter boat. But amazing salaries for chefs on board boats. You might be on a vessel that is more on anchor or more on the dock. The differences there are that on anchor, you're not as easily accessible to get off the boat. Tender runs, depending on the boat, once, twice, 3 times a day, they'll run you to shore, back and forth, and then there'll kind of be like a cutoff for that. If you're on the dock, you obviously can get off when you want, and you got the flexibility to jump off, go for runs, exercise, and those kind of things. So they're the kind of differences of the two different types of boats that might be on anchor more or might be on the dock. Even though your boat might be on anchor, there's so many amazing things you can do out there. Usually the deck crew will get the toys out and things you can play with. You can go for a swim in the morning, the afternoon, sunbake. So there's so many things to enjoy while you're out on anchor. From my experience, starting off at the very beginning, I was young, I was keen and excited. So I would go off and explore, and every chance I'd get, I'd hire a car or go for a hike or something like that. And I think as time goes on, you kind of forget about that and you forget why you kind of joined the industry. So I always recommend to people to get out there, explore if you have the time, and just don't forget to enjoy yourself and enjoy the places. Now I'm going to talk about the certificates that you need, the basic certificates to become a yacht chef. So the first one is, I think you should get the ENG1 medical. So the ENG1 medical is to basically allow you to work on yachts and to say you're physically fit and able to work on the vessel. So the reason why I suggest getting this first is because in the rare occasion that something pops up where you've got something that either your eyesight or something to do with the medical that's not going to allow you to work on the vessel, this is the cheapest certificate and the quickest certificate to get. So it's going to help you really decide whether you can work on the boat. It's between $80 to $120 roughly, and it takes around an hour to do. So I recommend getting that first, then you're going to find out quick enough if you're able to work on the boat. So now we're going to hear from an ENG1 doctor who's going to tell you a little bit more about it.
I'm Christopher Bess, and I am an ENG1 doctor. I've been doing it for about 10 years in the south of France, and I'm currently based in Golfe Juan. The NG1 is medical that is performed really to establish whether somebody is fit to be at sea, and by that not just fitness in terms of the individual but also their fitness to be able to help others on board. It's very important that one should realise that you are members of a crew and that you are not going to pose potentially problems for other people should you have a medical problem as well yourself. The ENG1 is an examination that is universal in the world for the MCA, and so the exam we do on people who are working on cargo ships or on liners or on any form of vessel in the Merchant Navy, the exam is the same, and so if you pass this ENG1, you are theoretically allowed to go and walk on any of these vessels. So the aim of the ENG1 is really to make sure that you're safe and that the people around you are kept safe by your being in good shape. The important decisions we need to make, which could potentially make life difficult for a crew, particularly in an emergency, would be weight, which is a big issue on boats, and vision has to be excellent and hearing has to be good, because the emergency situation demands that all of those should be in good order before working on a boat. The only thing you need to bring to the examination is your previous ENG1 and those assets which are responsible for your being able to see better or to be able to hear better, so obviously hearing aids and glasses if required. The testing of vision is purely to be sure that the emergency situation is dealt with. Chefs do not need to have perfect vision, such as the vision of the deck crew, and so colour blindness and poor visual acuity is not a problem, but obviously we like to try and tell people to wear the best forms of help on board the boat so that they can see things. The ENG examination results in your having a certificate at the end of it, and come what may, we will give you a certificate, either a temporary failure if you're unlucky and we need to do more work and find out what other papers are required, or you will have an ENG1 which you will have immediately and it will be valid from that time onwards. The ENG1 is classically valid for 2 years and it cannot be for longer than that, but it's occasionally reduced if we're concerned that there may be risks which we need to address over that period of time. And an example would be, if you are a little overweight, we tend to give you targets to say, let's try and get your BMI down to a safer level, and so we would shorten your ENG1 maybe to a year or sometimes 6 months to encourage you to lose that weight, to become fitter and allow you to work on the boat. The MCA examination has to be performed by accredited doctors who are accredited because the Chief Medical Advisor comes to our offices and checks on all the parameters we use for assessing your health. These are universal and can only be done by a small group of doctors who have been accredited by the MCA. In France, there are 3 of us, and there's 1 in Monaco, and all of us are concentrated around the super yacht industry because that is where most of the work is. The way to organise an MCA medical ENG1 is to go onto the MCA website, and there you will see a list of the accredited doctors who carry these examinations out. Each one has his own way or her way of organising that. That can be by telephone, or in my case, to go to the website, which is in my case www.eng1.fr, where you can make your own appointment. The examination, although it's rigorous and institutionalised by the MCA, is a very human examination, and it's based on in each individual. So please don't be concerned about the outcome, or indeed if you have questions before we start, you don't feel you have to engage and have everything recorded immediately. There are lots of questions we're very happy to discuss prior to your having it, and you should not feel stressed at all when you come in.
So the next certificate I recommend getting is the STCW 10. So the STCW breaks down into 3 parts. The first part of that course is elementary first aid. So this is to help you respond to emergencies on board when there's no emergency services available. So that's going to be when you're at sea, on crossings, or too far from land. So these are going to give you the basic skills to respond to an emergency if something happens on board. So it's going to cover things like CPR, immediate bleeding, fractures, and things that just need treatment straight away until the emergency services are available to come and help you. So this class will be an 8-hour class, and it will be a hands-on and theory portion. So you're going to go through and do CPR, and then you're going to do a test at the end. So that's kind of a rough idea of what to expect for the first aid portion of the STCW. Now I'm going to pass it over to Resolve Academy, and they're going to go through the other 2 portions, which is the firefighting and the PST, which is the personal survival techniques in the pool.
All right, so if you're coming out here to get your STCW with Resolve, you're gonna spend 1 day in the classroom learning the skills that you need to come out here and perform. On the second day, you're gonna be doing live fire training. We're gonna teach you how to move hose, fight a helo crash, go inside, knock down fire, that's that. Okay, so we got people coming to this class from all over the world. Some things to think about when you're coming. You're definitely gonna wanna wear socks. We've had people come without socks, I've given them away. You're gonna wanna hydrate prior. We do have water and Gatorade here for everybody, but it's definitely good to hydrate, especially in the summertime. You probably want to bring some snacks. There is food in the port, but it does take a while to get in and out of here, so always have some protein bars or some snacks that you can get through the day with. I would recommend wearing long sleeve and pants, not jeans, just something light, but you don't want to have anything exposed. Stuff that you obviously don't really care about too much because you will get dirty, as you can see, so just be prepared for that. So after the classroom day, when you guys are going in for the real stuff, you're gonna be briefed in the morning. We're gonna go over what we're gonna do that day. Typically we come out here, we get everybody gear, a full bunker set, then we're gonna go and try it on, make sure everything fits so that you're safe in the fire. Then we do a time drill, 3 minutes. You get all your stuff on, we'll check you guys out to make sure it's on appropriately. Then after that, you head back into the classroom and they do an SCBA class, self-contained breathing apparatus. We teach you how the pack works, the functions of the pack, all the parts and components, and then we practice going on air in there with just a hood and your pack. Once we get all those steps completed, we do a dry run of you putting everything on, going on air. We do a thorough check to make you have a seal check that you're gonna be safe to go into a burning structure. Then we do a pre-burn over there. Once that fire is built up, we get everybody lined up here after they've been checked already over there. We check you again. We check you one more time as we go in. There's 2 instructors, typically 6 students going in. We sit in there about 10-15 minutes, get the flames to go up, roll over, teach you some skills on how to put down the fire on a vessel, and then we back out and that's a wrap. So if you guys are anxious about signing up for this class, don't be. We have probably 6 to 8 instructors out here per class. Every one of us is ready to help you guys, to make you comfortable, to make you not scared if you have anxiety about going in. We will show you every trick to get comfortable. We're right there with you guys. There's nothing here, there's no military style anything. It's literally a fun class. I meet new people all the time. I've had everybody leave here saying how great it was. It's completely safe. This whole thing is regulated by many instructors inside and outside. It's just a good time. When you come out to Resolve for your STCW course, all of it is included. The classroom portion of it, the skill sets that you learn in there, and all the fireground stuff that you learn out here on the vessel, that's all included in the one price for Resolve for your STCW class. Okay, upon completion of the course at Resolve, you will get your STCW cert the day of. It will be in the classroom. Obviously, you want to make sure the spelling is correct on there. It's happened before. We typically don't do that, but just check. And then once you get that cert, you are solid for 5 years, and then we will see you again.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Anthony. I am one of the instructors here at Resolve Maritime Academy. So for your STCW Practical Survival Techniques portion of the class, it's a total of 12 hours. 8 hours are in the classroom going over the theory portion, and on the second day, 4 hours will be out here in the pool going over the survival equipment. For this portion of the class, you guys will be entering the water in various forms, right? You will be donning an immersion suit, has to be completed within 2 minutes. You will also be donning and jumping off a platform about 3 to 4 feet into the water with a life jacket. You will also be jumping off that platform with an immersion suit. During the class, we will go over proper entering the water techniques with you guys to make sure that you guys safely are aware of how to enter the water when you're wearing an immersion suit and a life jacket. Another portion of the class that you guys have to be familiar with is how to rewrite an inverted life raft. We will go over the proper techniques to show you how to properly and effectively use the righting strap on this life raft to help you flip it over. Another portion of the class that you guys will be doing is, which a lot of students usually are not too comfortable with this unless they're in the water a lot, is you have to tread water for 1 minute, meaning that you have to stay afloat, staying off the wall, off from the bottom, for 1 minute in order to complete that part of the practical assessment. One of the other assessments that has to be completed for you guys is how to properly enter the life raft. Ideally, in these situations, you want to enter the life raft dry. So we'll teach you how to enter the life raft from the side into the life raft. In the event that you had to enter the water, we also teach the techniques on how to effectively use the step ladder that's provided on this life raft to show you how to enter the life raft by yourself into the life raft easily and safely. Once we enter the life raft, we do also go over the supplies and equipment that is provided on this life raft. For example, how to safely cut your sea painter line, deploy your sea drogue. We'll go over the equipment that you'll be finding on board. Things like your EPIRB, SART, food and water intake that is provided for the life raft as well too, as well as all the other equipment into the life raft. Very important that you bring a pair of swim trunks, swimwear, something that you don't mind getting wet in the pool. As long as you're comfortable with it, it does not matter what you wear inside the pool. And then also a towel to dry yourselves off.
The third certificate I'm going to recommend getting is the Ship's Cook Certificate, the SCC. This certificate actually is just to verify that you are a competent ship's cook. And this can be done at multiple different places all around the world, but I'm going to hand it over to someone who can talk about it a little bit more in depth.
Hey, this is Chef Jim. I do the Ship's Cook Assessment. I'm the proctor for this assessment. Lovely 2-day boot camp, if you will, to showcase your skills. Right here at Blue Ocean's Yachting, right on beautiful Las Olas. A requirement for all chefs that are going to be on vessels with 10 or more crew. 10 or more crew, not guests. Always keep that in your head. So myself and a few other chefs who have practical hands-on experience in yachting and being in culinary come and do this and watch the chefs do their magic so that they can get their certificate beyond larger vessels. The Ship's Cook comes down to, it is crew focused because guests are on our vessels temporarily where the crew is, that's their home. So we have to be more attuned in our heads for allergens, religious beliefs, even weight. There are some people that come on board with type 2 diabetes. We have to be very aware of what their preferences are, what their food needs are, both religiously, allergenically, even diet-wise. We try and accommodate because that is their home. So it's actually making the chefs more aware and more responsible. For the first time I've seen in my yachting career that the galley is now being looked at as a very integral part of the yachting industry and a big part of when I have 10 or more crew on board. The first day is a review. They're sent a lot of material ahead of time that is a little bit overwhelming because we get into the Codex Alimentarius, which is our worldwide food standard, and it goes all the way down to signage in the galley, getting their boat knowledge, food safety, a review of food safety again, because they have to have a level 3, which is a supervisory level, because they are in charge, hopefully, of budgeting, and they're in charge of all this crew. So the first day is a complete review of that before they take a 70-question written exam. We go through food safety once again. Do they have their level 3? If not, where they can obtain that, because we have online options now where they can knock it out. So we'll go through that. We'll set up their menus, their recipes for the day, let them get acquainted with the kitchens, get all their stuff set up. It's not a gotcha moment, so we want them to be comfortable when they walk back into the kitchens to get started. From there, we'll work with their timing, their analysis of the recipes, any questions they might have, any notes they want to take, they're more than happy to bring them. Then we get them into the written portion of it. So the cooking part of it takes place on the second day. So they have now prioritized what they're going to start with, what they're going to finish with, what's faster for them to present, when they want to present it. So the first day is all about their book knowledge, walking through their written exam. Once the written exam is done, they get an hour and a half to do that. We walk through every question. And if they got something wrong, we explain why they got it wrong and what the adaptation is. Why they got it wrong, here's the right answer, and here's why. So it's not to beat them up, it's more just to get the knowledge back in their head, because if they've been complacent. So the first day is all academic, the second day is all practical. The first thing is they're going to start with fabricating. Even though most chefs aren't fabricating chickens on board, do they have the skill set? If they're put in a place where they have to get whole chickens, can they take that apart successfully to where we have very few bones in fish? They'll fillet fish. They're going to be kneading breads. They're going to be doing puff pastry from scratch, just like old school. They're going to do custards and puddings. So with that in mind, a lot of different techniques go into this. Can they execute that? Because real world, if I'm in an area where my mixer breaks down, I can only buy whole chickens, do I have that skill set? If I have an owner that fishes on board, can I take apart the fish when he needs that taken apart and do it successfully without bones, which is a physical contamination? Biggest part of it is food safety and sanitation. Are they clean? Are they wiping down their cutting boards? Are they keeping their areas clean? Are they using effective ingredient management? In other words, we don't have an infinite supply of eggs, so are you utilizing that properly? Or are you just sitting there making a hollandaise saying, oops, oops, oops? Because real world, I don't have all that. There's a minimum requirement to take the ship's cook, and that is you have to be 18 years of age or older. It has to be a vessel with 10 or more crew. You could come in and take it, but that would, unless you're working in yachting, you need a month of sea time, a year of land-based service, as far as in a kitchen somewhere. So you have to have some sort of background. I have had stews that have stepped up from stew to crew cook, but since they're on these larger vessels, they were required to take over. If the main chef, the head chef on the vessel, is to depart on holiday, the next person in line must have a ship's cook, because it puts the chef in charge of the galley, because that is his domain. He is responsible for the food safety of the crew on board. So the cost of the course is $2,000. It does include your certification. You have unlimited access to any of the assessors before and after. We walk you through every part of getting the application to the Cayman Islands. The Republic of Marshall Islands doesn't require it because the Caymans has already given the okay. Same with Malta, same with Jamaica, same with the Bahamas. As long as you have a Cayman certificate, you're going to be good to go. But what your boat wants to see is that you actually came to a center, you had somebody assess your skills. That certificate carries a lot of weight for you. It'll pay for itself when you're on these larger vessels, because it shows you made an investment in yourself to have your skills assessed to move to the next level. So Blue Oceans, your center, your boot camp starts at 1117 Las Olas. When you get here, we have everything for you. We'll walk you through it. It's calm, it's peaceful. Come with your A game, you'll walk away ready to roll.
So I'm going to talk about visas now. The two main visas that you may need in yachting are the B1, B2 visa, which is for stateside, so United States, and then the second visa is a Schengen visa. A lot of countries will give it to you on entry, but there's some nationalities like South Africans and a few others where you'll have to apply for it. So I recommend just doing your research, contacting a visa specialist and getting them to help you. The B1, B2 visa is a little bit tricky. It's kind of like the chicken and the egg. So it's harder to get if you don't have a job or a contract from a job before you go to the embassy. It's not impossible, but it is a little bit harder. So there are companies out there that you can contact that will help you get the B1, B2 visa, but it does help to have a contract. So yeah, reach out to some of those guys and see if they can assist you on getting some of those visas. So now I'm going to talk about your CV and what makes a good CV and something that I'm looking for when I'm hiring a chef. So you want to make sure that your CV is clear and organized. You're going to have a photo, which is a little different to some industries that you might not be used to. You're going to have up the top there all your contact information. Definitely have your WhatsApp. This industry runs on WhatsApp, so you're going to have to create a WhatsApp account and make sure that's up the top. You're going to have your career objective and a bit of a rundown of what you've done in the past, how long you've been a chef, and kind of what you're looking for. The next thing you're going to kind of have below that is the relevant certificates, because you're going to find out quickly that if you don't have those certificates, your CV is going to get deleted pretty quickly. So you're going to have your ENG1, STCW, ship's cook certificate, any of those extra things that are going to help you stand out from the rest. You're going to have any courses that you've done on top of that, any pastry courses, anywhere that you've kind of done stages in Michelin restaurants. So those are going to kind of be down on the left side there. And then your first experience is going to be any yachting experience that you have. So it's going to be super clear up the top there of what the position was. Was it a motor yacht, sail yacht? Was it charter? Was it private? How many crew, how many guests you were cooking for? You want that in bold, because as I'm scanning through that CV, I'm making sure that you're on similar sized vessels to be appropriate for the position that you're applying for. Then under that, you're going to have a brief explanation of your kind of role on the vessel, what you did, your cruising grounds, how busy you were, how many charters you did, or how many boss trips you did. So it's going to give you an idea of how suited for the position you're going to be. If you don't have yachting experience, you're just going to start at your restaurant experience. And with the restaurant experience to help you get ahead, it's good to note if you have worked in Michelin or Rosette or chef hat restaurants. So a lot of the time chefs will put up the top there how many Michelin stars or how many chef hats the restaurant was, and that kind of helps you stand out. And you know, if you don't have that yachting experience, at least you have that fine dining experience, and it kind of just catches the attention. And if restaurant experience is all you have, get quite specific in the sections that you worked or what kind of food you cooked, or were you in the pastry, were you baking, were you the head chef, the sous chef. Get very specific, because that's going to help you get ahead and catch the attention of the person that is hiring you. And then as you kind of move down from there, I like to put a food portfolio attached to the CV. So it would be basically 1 or 2 pages of your CV, and then you can basically just create a food portfolio coming down from there, either 1 or 2 pages. And that basically keeps everything together. You're not sending a ton of different documents. You're sending your CV, which has your food portfolio, has all your information that I'm ever going to need, and it's not overwhelming me. So I'm able to just look through that quickly. If I do want to move forward, then I'll ask for your documents and references and stuff like that. So that's the basics of a CV. I'm now going to hand you over to Peyton, who is going to tell you a little bit more in depth of how to create an amazing CV.
Hi, I'm Peyton. I am a yacht stewardess, but I have a background in public relations, which means I am very passionate about a good CV and graphic design. So today I'm going to use Dean's CV sample and kind of show you how to create a good CV for yourself. Hopefully you've been told multiple times how important a good CV is to landing a good job. If you haven't been told enough, I want to emphasize that again. When people are looking at CVs to hire someone, They will look at a CV for about 60 to 90 seconds tops, and if they can't get a good idea of who you are, or if it's too cluttered or unorganized, then usually it will be kind of discarded. It's really hard to, when you're looking at a lot of CVs back to back to back, to sift through information. So you want to have everything that's important right at the forefront so that someone can get the best idea of you straight away looking at your CV. So I'm going to be screen recording on my computer and going through the sample with you and showing you how to use the platform that I like to use. I prefer Canva. I think it is the easiest to use and very beginner friendly, and there's lots of great templates on here, so you can literally pick a template, plug in your information, and send it off. The platform that I like to use is Canva. I'm on it right now. You can go to canva.com, create an account. Obviously, I have an account that's already created and logged in. And then you're going to go search from the templates. So there's so many templates here. You can search CV or resume. And there's a million examples. You're going to choose one that you like. These are all amazing examples. I think the one that I chose for Dean was this one. I would recommend choosing one that has a photo within the template already so that you don't have to create space for that moving forward. So just select the one that you like and you're gonna press customize this template and fill in all of your information. So I'm gonna go back to Dean's sample to kind of show you what that looks like. I changed the colors and rearranged some things a little bit, but obviously you can just plug in your information if you're not too design savvy and call it a day. The most important thing is to obviously have your name large and in charge at the top, and then kind of what your role is. So Dean is obviously a head chef. That's the only position he's really looking for. If you're more looking for a head or sous chef / crew chef position, then that's what you would have here. You could even have just chef if you're kind of on the brink of like, might be crew chef, might be sous chef, might be head chef on a smaller boat. So just have chef there. And then in your career objective is kind of where you would specify, you know, I'm open to working on a smaller boat as a head chef, but I'm also happy to advance in my career and work on a larger boat as a head chef. So that's kind of where you would put that in the career objective spot. Dean has here a little bit about his history, just basic information. How long have you been a chef? How long did you work in restaurants? How long have you worked on yachts? Just give them a really brief understanding of who you are and what you're looking to do. Where are you from? What's your expertise? So I really like how this CV is broken into sections. So I like how there's this side panel here is a different color than this area here. It makes it easier to read. So you have all of the kind of side notes here. So you have your objective, your about, which includes things like where's your passport from? Do you have your driver's license? What languages do you speak? Do you have your STCW? So we'll have certificates down here, every single certificate that you have, your STCW, your ENG1, because there are a lot of times where people don't have those certificates and they will apply for jobs. So if we can't see them clearly, then we will assume that you don't have them. So yeah, always have your certificates there so we're very sure that you have them. And then we move over to the good stuff. So at the top, you'll also have your contact information, your telephone number if applicable. The really important part is your WhatsApp number. The yachting industry runs on WhatsApp and your WhatsApp number needs to be available. Your email, and if you have a website or a portfolio, you can put that there as well. So when you're getting into your work experience, you really want to have your yacht experience at the top. If you're in a position where you're looking for private chef work at the same time as you're looking for yacht chef work, I would recommend making 2 different CVs, because when we receive a private chef that's looking for work and they have the same CV and they're just, all of their experience is kind of mushed in together, it's not the best for us to look at because we want to see the yacht experience first and foremost. So you'll have 2 separate sections, ideally, one for yacht experience and one for land-based experience. There's several ways you can go about doing that, but this is how he has. First and foremost, obviously, he has lots of yacht experience, so he was able to create this whole section from here all the way to the bottom with all of his yachting experience. In some cases, you might not have as much of this experience, especially if you're just starting out. So you'll just do yacht experience, whatever you have. If nothing, that's obviously fine when you're first starting out. And then you would have maybe your restaurant experience right underneath it. He has his to the side over here because he has so much yachting experience. You want to go most recent first, okay? So we can see exactly what you did in most recent years. I can go straight here and see, okay, he worked on an 88 meter just recently. Okay, so that's his most recent experience. It's nice for us to be able to see a timeline of where you started and where you are now. So most recent first, that's an important thing to remember. Restaurant experience, same thing, the most recent first, the oldest at the bottom. Keep that restaurant experience and yachting experience in two different sections. For your food portfolio, you can either create a website, create a separate Canva document where you just have food pictures and send it at the same time as you use your CV, send your CV, or you can just add it to the PDF document that is your CV. So here, that's what Dean has done. He has added food pictures on a few pages afterwards. He does also have a website with his food pictures, but it's nice to have multiple places where we can see your food. Send a few with your CV, also send your website or the separate Canva document that you have created with your food pictures. A food portfolio is just as important as a CV. You can also use Instagram or social media as your food portfolio. I highly recommend doing that because your Instagram will most likely be checked at some point during your job search. Now I'm just going to show you some basic techniques of how to use Canva to edit a text box. For example, all you're going to do is double click on that text box, move your cursor wherever you need to edit, and backspace, type in whatever you need to type in. You can move boxes just by clicking on them and moving them. And as you move around the text boxes, some numbers are going to come up and show you exactly how far you have things spaced out. So it's really helpful and it makes things look a lot better when you have things spaced out evenly. So use those numbers to your advantage. If you want to, for instance, if you're at the bottom of, let's say you have your restaurant experience and you want to copy one of these restaurant experiences and and add another one on the bottom because you have another restaurant you want to add, you're going to click on this and then you can even click on another box. So click on the first box, press shift, click on the second box that you want to copy, release the shift, right click, press copy, and then click out of it, right click, paste. And then you can drag that text box to wherever you want. And look, you can, you can space the boxes out evenly using those numbers that come up. And then go in and edit whatever restaurant you need to put in and what you did. For each yachting position, you want to have a few different elements. You want to have the position that you held. So here, Dean was the rotational head chef. You want to have the name of the boat and the size. Motor Yacht Project X 88 meter. And you want to have if it was private or charter or both. Put the dates that you were there, and you can even add the location of the boat. These are all very important elements. Underneath, in smaller text, you will have what you did on the boat. For the description of the job, you want to include language that allows your recruiter or your employer to know that you really did work on that boat. And what I mean by that is it's easy to kind of guess and say basic things about working on a yacht. I cooked for guests. I cooked for crew. But to actually have very specific things helps your employer or your potential recruiter know that this person knows what they're doing. So having specific things like, we were really busy on charter. We didn't have much time between the Caribbean and the Med seasons. I implemented specific systems for working 24/7 in the galley. I had to create menus for a kosher family, things like that, where it's like very specific to the role. I think the most important thing about creating a CV is simplicity and organization, because if you're organized on a CV, that usually means that you're organized in a galley. So clean, simple, organized, professional. Really double, triple check your spelling, have someone check it for you. If English isn't your first language, I would recommend having someone who speaks English check your CV. Maybe your conversational English is better than your writing English, and you really want to convey that to whoever is reading your CV. Obviously, this is in the case that you are working on a boat with international crew and that English is the main language that is being spoken. And it's important for recruiters and employers a lot of the times to have someone, if the English is the main language that is being spoken, that everyone on the crew can communicate with each other in case of an emergency or just to provide the best service possible. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to change the photo on your CV. So there will be on your template, there will obviously be a stand-in photo. You're going to go to Uploads on the left-hand side. Go to Upload Files, the big purple button there. And you're going to go wherever you have your photo saved. So if it's in Downloads or Documents or Desktop, wherever you have your photo saved. And let's just say, I'm just going to show you. So I have a photo here that I can upload. And you can just drag it and drop it, or you can press it and click Open. So now I obviously have two there because I uploaded it twice. You are going to click the photo that you want to replace. So I'll just use this one as an example. Click it, drag it, and hover it over the photo. And then it automatically changes for you. When you're ready to export your CV and everything looks the way that you like it, go and change your name to your first and last name, then CV. Go to Share, press Download. Make sure that the file type is PDF standard. Make sure all pages are selected and press Download. Your CV will now be in the Download section of your computer or phone. If you forgot to change the name of your CV before you downloaded it, then you can change the name here by right-clicking, pressing Rename, and changing the name. It's very important that you have your CV named as your first and last name, then CV. You might be sending multiple documents to whoever you're applying for the job to, so it's important that you specify, this is my CV, this is my food portfolio, this is my reference letter, this is my STCW. Always have all of your documents clearly labeled and named. Again, I just want to emphasize how very important it is to have a good looking CV, very clean, very organized. It's the first impression that a recruiter and employer gets of you, so you really want to make sure that it represents you in the best way possible. There are a lot of amazing templates on Canva that you can use, and there are a lot of YouTube tutorials on how to use those templates on Canva. But if you feel like it's still a little too overwhelming for you, I actually create CVs. I will be taking all of the information that you provide me, whether it's on an old CV or just on a document listed out with all of your experience, contact information, certifications, etc. And I will implement them into a gorgeous CV that you can use for your job applications. I will then provide you with a Canva document so that you are able to edit your CV yourself moving forward as you gain new experience. I'm happy to take your information and compile it in a way that best represents you and lets employers know who you are from the 60 to 90 seconds that they're looking at your CV. As someone who has viewed a million CVs very recently, I know exactly what a recruiter is looking for when they are looking at a CV, and I know what's the most important, and I know the mistakes that people make when they are creating their CVs. If this sounds like something you might be interested in, all of the information for this service will be down below.
I'm going to talk about the experience that I recommend you getting before you jump into yachting as a chef. So there's nothing better than getting restaurant experience. I did a 4-year apprenticeship myself, which was incredible, and it teaches you the basics, but there's nothing like working in a restaurant. It teaches you organization, how to work at a fast pace, how to get things done quickly, create prep lists where it makes sense. So I'm going to talk about my experience. I worked, as I said, in 2 different types of restaurants. I worked in a fine dining, slightly, I wouldn't say slower pace, but it was 100-person seatings. And then I also worked in a fast pace, which had about 300-person seatings. Those 2 restaurants really gave me the know-how and the combination of what it kind of takes to be a yacht chef, where you're plating up beautiful food, but you really got to move your ass basically to get things done, because you may only be by yourself. So that is one way, getting a bunch of restaurant experience. Now, the second way is, if you don't want to go through a 4-year apprenticeship or a 3-year or 2-year apprenticeship, there are courses out there, there are establishments out there that you can go do between a 3 to 8 week kind of fast track course, but they're great though. They're jam-packed full of everything you kind of need to know. So these courses are going to teach you a little bit of everything and kind of prepare you to become a yacht chef. Everything after that you can kind of work on, you can Google, and you can kind of make it happen. So these are great courses if you really want to get into yachting quicker and you don't want to do the 2, 3, 4-year apprenticeship. My all-time favorite cooking school is White Pepper UK. These guys have an incredible range of courses, but more in particular, we're running a 5-day Yacht Chef course, which is going to teach you 14 different dishes with tips, techniques, and hacks to streamline your cooking on board a yacht. White Pepper has courses if you're just brushing up on your skills or you're starting from the very beginning and wanting to become a chef. I'm going to hand it over to Luke now, and he's going to tell you a little bit about White Pepper.
So this year we've relaunched our Yacht Chef course, this time with Dean Harrison, and that collaboration brings a lot more weight and support for the graduate. And then in there. So the Yacht Chef course is for the aspiring yacht chef, so you can be a complete beginner with no experience at all. And that's not to say that the course is elementary, it's going to be quite sophisticated, but of course you can then scale those techniques and those recipes down according to the job that you have. The location is pretty great actually. It's just a stone's throw away from Poole Harbour and the quay within walking distance here. The course features a lot of seafood. There's great access to seafood when you're working on the boats. All of our recipes will work with all different types of fish, filleting and butchery through to cured fish, restaurant style meats, patisserie and plating as well. We have 6 dedicated, fully trained chefs who are also teachers, and a maximum of 12 students in the kitchen. So a very, very strong ratio. You know, you've got constant support on tap during the course. There's also going to be support from 2 organisations, White Pepper HQ for soundboarding ideas and future career support through references and things like that. The outcome actually for students of the yacht course is really quite exceptional. As with most things, it's who you know as well as what you know, and with the collaboration with Dean and also the ongoing support from White Pepper, there are so many vacancies out there looking for qualified, charismatic chefs, so the outcome and the opportunities are amazing.
Now we're working into more yacht-based licenses and certificates that you don't necessarily need to get, but I actually needed to have these licenses when I worked on a smaller vessel. I kind of recommend to do them, even if it's just for your own benefit, to know some nautical terms and just get yourself ahead of the crowd, I guess. Like, put them on your CV, and that's already going to get you further ahead than some of these other chefs that just have the basics. Personally, I actually have my dive master certificate, my jet ski license, and my tender driving license. These did come in handy sometimes, but it wasn't necessary on the bigger boats. It was more so for the smaller boats between 20 to, I guess, 35, 40 meters. Other than those main certificates, there's other things that can actually get you ahead and you can put on your CV to make you stand out from the crowd. So there's other things like baking courses, dessert courses, chocolatiering, working in butchers, fishmongers, all these different things that you can put on your CV that are going to make you stand out from the rest of the crowd. There's a few courses that I've actually done throughout my career. I did a week's cooking course in Thailand at the Blue Elephant. I've done a dessert course in Barcelona. I've done a bunch of other different courses that are going to help me get ahead, I guess, and make me stand out from the crowd. So any of those little things are going to help you really secure that job for the first time. A lot of those courses I actually got during my yachting career, and a lot of boats will actually give you a budget for that, and they'll actually send you away to some of these courses. So don't fret about getting it all done before, but it is going to help you to get ahead for that first position on a boat. If being a yacht chef sounds like something that you'd like to do, then I encourage you to finish the course. We're going to be covering all sorts of things from provisioning, crossings, crew cooking, guest cooking, menu planning, what it's like to be on a motor yacht or a sail yacht, full-time, rotational, all of the things that I wish I knew 14 years ago when I started yachting.